So welcome everybody to our journey into sustaining our communities and collaborations. We are honored to be here today with Dr. Dia Abdul from the Center for New North Carolinians. And I have a few quick announcements to make. First of all, if you don't know yet, CNNC is actually hosting this lovely symposium next Friday, November 5th, Shifting Worlds Symposium. It will be a virtual event, and I'm going to place into the chat a link to the registration if you would like to join. There's the link for that. Did you want to say anything about that real quick, Dr. Abdul? Or
yes, it was on my list of things to talk about. So
okay,
yeah.
Okay, excellent. And then another announcement that I have to make is, let's see. Okay. It's about International Education Week, which is coming up next week. So here is the website for the university here about International Education Week, and a couple of sessions that we will highlight. One is on November 2nd, School of Education graduate students who are in our Pathways program will be presenting about their experiences at noon. And in case you're wondering what a Pathway student is, Pathway students are graduate students who are also international students, and being part of the Pathway program gives them access to extra support and mentoring as they navigate the US college system, using English, academic English in college settings. So that's what the Pathways program is. And I will put into the chat a couple of links. One is the webpage that you're looking at, and another one has links to the other events. And one other event I would like to highlight is the November 3rd, the International Faculty and Staff will have a discussion at noon also. So that is another event coming up. And then another announcement I would like to make is with regard to one of the programs that CDLC has helped fund and has been an active participant in, and that's called Real World English. And if you're not familiar with Real World English, this is a community outreach program that provides English classes for parents in our community who are interested in learning English. And it's all really powered off of volunteers. And they are currently looking for volunteers for their Saturday morning program. There is a virtual option, and there's also a face-to-face or in-person option. If you are interested in finding out more about this opportunity, you're welcome to share that, of course, with students, with your colleagues, or if you're interested, I will place a link to the website in the chat where you can go on. If you are just interested in finding out more and you can't find it there, I've put my email in the chat also, and you can just email me directly for more information about that. But it's a great way for keep your students in mind to get some experience working with our community partners. And then one more announcement is about our grant. We're excited to finally announce the call for our proposals for our grant that we do every year. And our grant is, in case you don't know, it's a kind of like a mini grant, up to $3,000. We can award 2 projects this year. And the applications are due on December 1st. And I will put into the chat a link to the call for proposals if you would like more information. So that is there. And I think that's it, except for one final thing. In case you don't know, all of our sessions are recorded and they are put into our YouTube channel. And I just put the link to our YouTube channel in the chat, which is you can go back and look at past recordings, and we'll put today's event in there as well if you'd like to share that with anyone. So that's all I have for announcements, but thank you for joining us. Dr. Abdul, I will turn it over to you.
Wonderful, thank you. Can I share my screen? Let me see if I have the ability to do that. It looks like I can. Awesome. Wonderful. And everybody can hear me okay? Thank you. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored and really just excited to give folks an update about what the CNNC has been up to. I'll start by talking about myself a little bit because I have not met many of you on this call, although I know the beautiful Catherine. It's always lovely to see Catherine's face, she's also my neighbor. And so I get to have her energy, beautiful energy at work and at home. And I recognize my friend Edna. Where's Edna? But I mean, I see your name, Edna. Always excited to see your name and look forward to our joint writing project, which you promised that we will do at some point. So I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of information about myself, and then I'll talk a little bit about what the CNNC is and does for those who might not be very familiar with the CNNC, and then I'll provide some updates and then happy to have a dialogue or answer questions. So the Center for New North Carolinians is a UNCG center that's been around for 20 years. We're under the Office of Research and Engagement. And really, it started out of our AmeriCorps program and then developed and grew over the years. And I'll talk a little bit about our programs in a little bit. But let me just talk a little bit about who I am so you know about me. And I'd love to also, when we're having a conversation, to learn more about you as well. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit about myself. So I'm Dia Abdo. I came to the US as an international student in 1996. And I was born and raised in Jordan to Palestinian refugee parents. And when I came to the US, it was a few years before September 11th, and I was committed to studying American literature. And then after September 11th, that focus shifted because of just the great interest in Arab women writers and Muslim women. And so my research focus shifted to Arab and Islamic feminisms and Arab women writers, which is what my focus is right now in terms of my scholarship. I was a professor of English at Guilford College, and I teach world literature, Arab women writers, Arab and Islamic feminisms, refugee and immigrant literature, and among other things. So after September 11th, I found it very challenging to live in the United States, and I went back to Jordan. And when I was in Jordan, I was teaching at a few universities, and my last institution was the Arab Open University. And I had published something, that institution is particularly conservative, and I had published something that they found problematic, especially because it focused on queer sexualities. And they asked me to resign, and we had a sort of a year of confrontation that was a private, and eventually they sort of backed down from their accusations regarding my scholarship, but I think was too traumatized by that freedom of speech violation, and I decided to leave, and I applied for various positions, all in warm places, and ended up here in North Carolina in 2008. I accepted a tenured position or tenure track position at Guilford College and eventually became tenured and a professor of English. The chapter where I detail this experience is in this book called Bad Girls of the Arab World. I wear that badge now proudly, but a few years ago it was not something I wore proudly, but now I'm more comfortable talking about that experience. A few years ago, while I was here, right after the Syrian refugee crisis, and at Guilford College, I founded an initiative called Every Campus a Refuge. Every Campus a Refuge mobilizes colleges and universities to partner with local refugee resettlement agencies and host refugees temporarily on campus grounds and support them in their resettlement. Guilford College started hosting refugees on campus in 2016, and we've been doing this for 6 years. And what we do is we host family after family for a period of 5 months on average. And the family stays on Guilford's campus, supported by the campus community. And then we support them in their transition off campus. While they're on our campus, they have free access to all of our amenities and facilities, especially our human resources and expertise. The initiative has spread to other colleges and universities, including Wake Forest here, but colleges at other states like Lafayette and Agnes Scott. And now the initiative is gaining momentum because of the Afghani evacuee crisis. I'm trying to get UNCG on board, but if you have any power or sway over the powers that be here at UNCG in making something like this happen, let me know. So that's Every Campus a Refuge. It's now a 501c3 that I run, but it really is sort of based at Guilford College, where the flagship chapter is. While at Guilford, I also developed a curricular component where students can actually get credit for doing this work, which is hosting refugees on campus and supporting them in their resettlement. 2 years ago, I was approached by Raleigh Bailey and Holly Sinkowitz. Raleigh is the founder of the CNNC and Holly is the former director. And they both said, Dia, there's this job coming up, you should apply for it. And I thought, really? I mean, I've been a faculty for 24 years. You know, it made sense. I'm of a refugee background. I'm an immigrant to this country. My work has centered for a while around refugees and immigrants, and I have deep ties with the refugee and immigrant community here. In North Carolina, I've also been working in service provision in this hybrid form, right, of an academic institution and a nonprofit through Every Campus a Refuge. And so the CNNC is kind of like that, right? We're service providers, but we exist within a university context and have elements of sort of the educational charge of the institution. So I'm at the CNNC right now. The CNNC promotes access and integration for immigrants and refugees, with a focus especially on service provision. So we provide services, but we also engage in research and in training. Specifically, these are sort of the three goals that we focus on: community-based outreach initiatives and programming, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Research and evaluation studies, especially through our fellows program. Catherine is a wonderful fellow and a part of many other initiatives at the CNNC, where we engage in research and evaluation in ways that are ethical. In fact, the CNNC at the moment is developing a rubric or a guideline for community engaged research. And we engage also in training and leadership development. One of our goals is to build capacity among our refugee and immigrant communities in many areas, and also try to train other institutions in doing this work, right? How as an institution you can support your local communities, especially refugee and immigrant communities. Annually, we serve over 2,000 immigrants and refugees from over 30 countries. As you might know, Greensboro is a refugee resettlement hub. We've been resettling refugees and welcoming refugees here for decades. There are over 150 languages spoken in Greensboro, which is just remarkable. In fact, we have a public school, the Newcomers School, the Doris Henderson Public School, that is dedicated entirely as a transitional period for the children of refugees and immigrants. 13% of Guilford County are foreign born, and lots of people speak languages other than English in their homes and elsewhere. The CNNC serves many populations. So we serve folks who have just arrived, but we also serve folks who have been here for generations. So refugees who might have arrived with the first Montagnard Vietnamese refugees, and obviously hoping to serve the Afghani evacuees who are arriving into this country or who are in this country right now. The community centers, I want to talk a little bit about our sort of signature programs at the CNNC. There are quite a few programs, but I want to focus on a couple. The community centers program, we run 3 community centers that are on site at large housing complexes where there are large populations of refugees and immigrants. And the idea is that those community centers, they provide wraparound case management services, tutoring, childcare, ESL support, employment support, citizenship application support. But the focus is on employment, education, social services, and health access. And the reason those centers are important is because they're on site and they break down the barriers, especially transportation and childcare, that prevent people from traveling to sites where services are provided. And we really focus on culturally responsive and linguistically accurate service provision. So our staff, our AmeriCorps members, our interns, volunteers, et cetera, are typically from the community. In fact, we're very proud that the CNNC staff have once been served by the CNNC and are very much representative of the communities that we serve. And that really sort of represents the closing of the circle, that the folks who are served by the CNNC are eventually the leaders of the CNNC. We have three, as I said, one of them is the Community Enrichment Center that is off of Muirs Chapel, kind of near Moorhead Elementary, if you know where that is. The other is the Glen Haven Community Center. Edna Tan works with that center and the children at that center. That's off of Greenbrier and Elm Street. And the populations there are predominantly Nepalese, Burmese, DRC. The Community Enrichment Center is Middle East and North African. And then the Oakwood Forest Community Center out on Route 29 serves predominantly Latinx families of documented, undocumented, mixed status families. Another signature program is our Immigrant Health Access Project. It promotes health equity and access to services for uninsured refugee and immigrant adults. IHAP serves hundreds of individuals a year with medical and dental care and access. And we really leverage the community health worker model. The community health workers are respected members of the communities that they serve. They're usually from the community. Like the services that we provide at the community centers, these are folks who are from the culture and therefore are culturally responsive and speak the various dialects and languages. They build capacity because the idea is to share health information and resources so that folks are empowered from within the communities. And the community health worker model is really powerful because it centers the skills and expertise of refugees and immigrants who were trained in their country in medical health access and support and are not necessarily able to certify or recertify here to be able to provide those services in particular contexts. Another great program that we have is our immigration services. Our immigration services program provides low cost or no cost immigration services. We recently received, last year, a grant from the United States government, Department of Homeland Security, to provide free legal services for citizenship. So if you have any folks who are eligible for citizenship, please send them to us and we provide those legal services for free. But we also provide a host of other services. You'll see them here, but DACA renewals and permanent residency, et cetera, and petitions, family reunification, things like that. Our interpreter access project is wonderful. And again, Catherine has utilized our services in translation for a research study that they're doing. But the interpreter access project is really remarkable. I think it's one of those wonderful things. It's our revenue generating program. So we provide fee-based interpretation and translation services, but we're nonprofit. So all of the funds that come in, they pay our interpreters really well. And then the rest funds our non-grant funded services. So it's a great way of self-sustaining the CNNC and its services so that we're not constantly dependent on grants, which are ever shrinking and ever more restrictive. And, you know, everybody on this call knows what I'm talking about. So having that revenue generating, not only is it revenue generating, but it's an employment opportunity and a professional opportunity for local refugees and immigrants who are bilingual and multilingual. And so they receive training in interpretation and then interpret for refugees and immigrants at Cone Health, at GCS, for our children, for their parents. So it really is very much about finding power and support from within the community and making sure that then the community reaps the benefits economically, financially of those services that are provided. We provide thousands of hours of interpretation a year, and we have about 45 interpreters. If you know folks who are multilingual, bilingual, who would be interested in joining our interpreter bank, please send them my way. This is last year's report. We're working on this year's report and I'll share it with you all. But last year, the CNNC did quite a bit, even though we were experiencing COVID. You know, we served many families. As you can see, we provided 6,000 hours of interpretation. We helped or supported 492 individuals with health access. We placed 89 adults in jobs through our community center program. So yeah, the center does great work and we have incredible partnerships with all of the local organizations and agencies that provide services and support to refugee and immigrant communities. I want to give you important updates. Melody has already mentioned the symposium. So the symposium has been in the works for a while. We've actually done it twice before, pre-COVID. And so this is the first time it's going to be virtual. And I'm going to click on this so that we can go to the page. It's on our website. And the focus or the title of the symposium is Engaging with Refugee and Immigrant Communities During a Pandemic, Collaborations, Challenges, and Resilience. I want to highlight, first of all, registration is free and open. Please register. We have incredible, remarkable sessions. Melody has already shared the long schedule, but there's an abbreviated schedule here. And then I want to highlight 3 cool things too that are happening. We've got 2 incredible keynote speakers, women of color, Dr. Cristina Santamaria Graf and Dr. Aurora Santiago Ortiz. Both work with immigrant and refugee communities and community engaged, ethical community engaged research. And so the opening and closing keynote addresses will speak to community engagement. And then we also have a workshop session with Dr. Graf and Dr. Santiago Ortiz, who will help us finalize our rubric. Because for a year now, we have been working as a group on this research rubric. As you can imagine, the CNNC gets frequent requests from researchers, practitioners, asking us to connect them with local refugee and immigrant communities for research purposes. And we realize that we are obviously not the gatekeepers of these communities, and that we need to think about how we're positioning ourselves, placing ourselves in the community and our connections with the communities that we serve. And so we're working on this rubric that sets the stage for those questions when we get them. How do we respond in ways that are careful, thoughtful, and also encouraging of research without also exploiting the communities that we are serving? Let's see. I need to close this tab, but I can't see it now. All right, there we go. I also wanted to mention that I mentioned the USCIS grant, which has been great. But we also received recently several grants. The biggest ones have been from the CDC and KBR, both focused on vaccine access and education among refugee immigrant communities, especially because of vaccine hesitancy. Another thing that we've been working on that's really exciting is a more meaningful, I think, robust connection between the CNNC and the academic arm of the CNNC and UNCG. And so 2 initiatives that we're really proud of is that we always had social work interns here, but we've recently formalized that relationship in a kind of, the CNNC is now a field unit, and our on-site supervisor of interns actually teaches the seminar for that internship in the social work department, which is just great. And one way to sort of really formalize those relationships so that they're not haphazard between various departments and the CNNC. The other really cool, exciting update is that the CNNC fellows have been working on for a while on developing and implementing a minor in forced migration and resettlement studies here at UNCG. And we are in the final stages of that approval. It'll be offered out of the Peace and Conflict Studies Department. And the capstone course for that minor has already been approved. It's called PCS 460, Forced Migration Seminar. And it'll be housed at the CNNC and taught by a CNNC fellow, which is just really exciting. Catherine, I'm looking at you. The CNNC has also been in the news recently. We won this really cool award. I don't know if you saw, but we were named a finalist for the National Community Engagement Award. We won the regional W.K. Kellogg Foundation Community Engagement Award. So there's 4 regional awards, and we won the Southeast, which qualifies us for the larger APLU McGraw Award. And without giving anything away, look out for a special announcement in 3 weeks. I'm not saying anything, because we're not supposed to share. Okay, stop it, Dia. All right. And I want to share with you the video that we presented. We had to come up with a video. Michael Frierson actually created this for us. He's a UNCG film professor, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I don't know if I've never shared video before. I don't know if the sound will come up. Can you hear this? No. I know that there's a way to share sound, and I'm not really very good at things like that. How do I do that? Does anybody know?
Oh, yes. Idea.
Hi, Nora.
So unshare for a minute. When you go
Okay.
to share, when you go back to share, look at that share screen.
Mhm.
And there are two checkoff boxes in the lower left-hand corner that say share sound, and it's good to click that other one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I stop, thank you. So if I stop, I've stopped share.
Yes.
Do I have to go back to the screen without sharing, is what you're saying?
No. So share now. Push the share screen button.
Okay.
The green button.
Mhm. Oh, share sound.
Yeah.
Oh, magical.
And do that other movie one too. Yeah.
Thank you. I learned something really valuable today. Thanks. Can you hear it?
My name is Nagla. I was trained as a medical doctor in Egypt, but my passion in life was to work with communities to empower them to promote their health and well-being. I think the Center for New North Carolinians really provides a circle of care around immigrants and refugees. This circle of care starts in the Immigrant Health Access Program that's guided by community-engaged research. We will not know how we serve our clients without evaluating the outcomes and the impacts of our programs. We are focused on providing health access, but our way to do that is to communicate effectively with our clients. For them to open up and share with you their challenges, they have to trust you. It's scary for us. And for us, we need to feel reassured and feel safe and feel welcomed and feel connected. We feel that by a nice good morning, a nice hi, how are you feeling? It's good seeing you. Before you start working with me, I need to connect to you. All the challenges we experienced in our lives give us a gratitude. We are all challenged. Different culture, different language, different food, different relationships, lack of social cohesion. But how we keep going? We went through the immigration and refugee process, which is difficult, because we have hope.
Wonderful. So this is the video that we put together, and in that video, sorry, I just need to exit that screen, is our new senior program coordinator for the Immigrant Health Access Project, but also UNCG PhD student and CMNC fellow Negla Rashwan. I'm sure you're familiar with her because Negla is everywhere, because I think she's also the president and leader of all things, including the GSA. Is that right? So, so let me go back to the screen and see if there's anything else I need to share here. I think that might be it. So I will stop here about the CNNC, and I am happy to answer any questions y'all might have about the CNNC, and I would love to learn more about folks on the call. I mean, there's enough of us that it might be nice to just go around and introduce ourselves, but thanks so much for having me.
Do we want to introduce ourselves real quick since we're a pretty small group? So I'm Melody Zock. I think I actually forgot to say that at the beginning, but I think I know all of y'all. But I'm in the teacher education and higher education department.
Are we in a particular order on your screen, Melody? Would it be easier for you to just?
Sure. So Catherine, I see you next.
Thank you, Dr. Zock. I'm Catherine Bennett. I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate in the higher education program, but I'm a big fan of teacher education, have been a student of Dr. Chang, Dr. Tan, and Dr. Srinasi on the call. Dr. Faircloth, I see you next.
I'm Bev Faircloth. I'm also a faculty member in the Teacher Education, Higher Education Department. And I'm also involved with Melody and Amy and a couple others with the Young Writers Workshop, but the part of it called Community Voices that works with actually members of these communities that you've been describing, Dia. And so I hope for a future conversation with you about, we've been out of commission for a couple of years because of COVID, but we are going to try it again this year. So we probably should talk further. And Dia is next, but she's kind of introduced herself. Nora, you're next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Nora Bird, and I'm a member of the Library and Information Studies Department. Also, now housing a master's in instructional technology. And I have been working with CDLC mostly out of interest because of all the wonderful things that are being done around. So great to hear about all your work. And I see Amy next.
Thanks, Nora. I'm Amy Vetter. I am a professor in teacher education, and I have been with CDLC for, I don't know, for a very long time. And I do work with Melody and Bev with the Community Voices group. I really appreciate your presentation. I learned a lot more about CNNC that I had known before, so I appreciate you sharing that information. And let's see, Jane, you are next.
Thank you, Amy. My name is Jane Ye He. I'm also from the Department of Teacher Education and Higher Education. And just like Amy said, I really appreciate your presentation as well about CNNC. And I work very closely with our TESOL program, Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. So you probably know that a lot of our ESL teacher candidates work very closely in the community centers with other volunteers, with our local students and the families. So if you see any opportunity for us to continue and expand our collaboration, just let us know. We are always happy to talk more about those collaborative opportunities. Thank you. And I see Kelly on my screen.
Hello, everyone. I think most know me, but yep, my name is Kelly Pereira. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Languages, Literatures, and Cultures. I teach Spanish and linguistics. I have been working with the CNNC for many years now, I think pretty much since I arrived at UNCG, 10 or 11 years ago. And I have implemented service learning into a program for heritage speakers of Spanish that we've been developing in our department. And this is also an area of focus in my scholarship. And I've worked really closely with Jennifer Pastoric at the CNNC, and mainly my students work with the communities at Oakwood Forest Community Center. And let's see, who has not? Let's see, I see Benji.
Hi, everyone. I'm Benji Chang, and I'm on faculty here in the teacher ed department. And historically, I've done a lot of community engagement work, but basically when I got here shortly after COVID hit, so I wasn't really able to do too much of that. But so I wanted to join in today and see what's going on and hear about the great work. I've always heard about CNNC, so that's very cool. And on campus, I work with CDLC and a new group, Student of Color Collective, amongst other things. So, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see, Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Arcilla. Everyone calls me Jenny. And I am a third-year doctoral student in the teacher ed department. I have a focus on TESOL, and I started my doctoral studies right before COVID as well. So I'm looking forward to finally being more involved in things like this as well. So I'm excited to hear about the Center for New North Carolinians. I've heard a lot about it. y'all have a lot of amazing programs that I may refer some people to. But so thank you, I appreciate it. Oh, and I see Dr. Sanasi.
Hi, everybody. I am Devdas Sanasi. You can call me Devdas. I know it's kind of a bit hard to say. I just wanted to hear your presentation, and I think I'm blown away by the type and amount of work and the kind of work you're doing. As an immigrant, I wish when I came to this country at the time, 25 years ago, that there was some kind of a structure. And I'm so happy and glad to hear that all the work that you're doing, and it serves actually, a real purpose. So it's not just research for the purpose of research or publication. And I think that's a big piece for me. And I think for me, knowing that now there are all these resources, like even having colleagues going through immigration issues, knowing that there's this sort of resource available, kind of, is mind blowing, because I was not expecting that. So thank you for doing what you do. And if there is any way, I'm in the Educational Research Department, ERM, and we do quite a bit of research for folks on campus and out of campus. And I think it would be a good way to get connected, as our I would say our student body are becoming more and more international. And I think that would be an awesome collaboration. Yes, thank you.
All right, I see one more person who's dialing in. I'm not sure if you're able to talk, if you're on a phone, but if you are, you can feel free to introduce yourself.
That should be Laura Gonzalez. She actually
okay.
texted me and asked me to tell you that she's here.
Okay, hi, Laura.
I'm sure she says hi back.
Okay. I really enjoyed your presentation too. It was just a great kind of way to remember all the great work that y'all are doing, Dr. Abdo. And it also just really makes me want to think about, ways that we can partner and be supportive for y'all. I was wondering, with the Afghans who are in the process of resettling right now to our area, what are some things that we might be expecting or thinking about in ways, or what are you all expecting in terms of the support you'll be offering? And are there things that y'all need, or are there ways that we can offer further support? I'm also thinking about the school system, and you talked about supporting the newcomer school. There's a new newcomer school going to be opening soon in High Point. And so I was just curious about, ways that we might connect and support.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. So the CNNC has actually established a task force to coordinate UNCG CNNC efforts to respond to any needs that the community might have, especially arriving Afghanis, and also support our refugee resettlement agencies, because they will be the ones who will coordinate housing, etc. There are 1,100 Afghani evacuees slated for resettlement in North Carolina out of the 37,000 in this country right now. Housing is a shortage, which is why I'm pedaling really hard to get colleges and universities to provide housing, temporary housing support. But also the government has expanded, I don't know if you saw, private sponsorship. So they're expanding the sponsorship model here in this country beyond the usual to include private sponsorship. But there's also always been community sponsorship, where smaller communities like faith communities or colleges and universities can come together and support refugees largely, because this crisis, it's not episodic, right? I mean, this is going to be, I think it's unfortunate that we've known for a long time that the refugee resettlement program in this country falls short of providing the kinds of financial support and integration support that refugees need, and that housing is an issue. And now it's a huge issue because there are thousands and thousands of Afghani refugees who have arrived after 4 years of the decimation of the refugee resettlement program. So we're at a juncture where the refugee resettlement program needs to rebuild, not only for this current crisis, but for the surge in refugee admissions that Biden has promised, right? Because we went from 125,000 under Obama to 18,000 under Trump, now up to 65,000 and up to 125,000 under Biden. So we need to find a way to shore up our refugee resettlement efforts here. But the time is now to support Afghani evacuees, right? It's now, right now. And so I would say connect with your refugee resettlement agencies. They are CWS and African Services Coalition here in Greensboro, World Relief in Winston-Salem, and CWS, Catherine, is Lutheran Family Services in Raleigh, Durham? Anyway, I can find out if wherever you are, but in Greensboro, it's African Services Coalition and CWS. Connect with them if you have volunteers, if you have donations, etc. But if you're interested in what the CNNC is doing, what we're trying to do is really leverage our educational and training capacity. So we're trying to create presentations to prepare our Guilford County school teachers, our CPS folks, our DSS folks, our GPD on Afghani evacuees, nationals, just to prepare, right? We have this population coming in. What does that mean culturally and otherwise? The newcomer school is great. I'm so excited about the new school. We have a very good relationship with Guilford County Schools, and especially their EL director, Myra Hayes, who's a fantastic, gorgeous human being. Dr. Hayes is also teaches at UNCG and is a huge advocate for refugee and immigrant children. So I'm sure there's a way to support them. And I'm happy to connect folks, but I would say that if you have effort, whether it's time or money, to reach out to your local refugee resettlement agencies. If you have what's the word that I'm looking for? Any clue or any leads on housing, please reach out to your refugee resettlement agencies because housing is direly needed. But if you're interested in engaging with the CNNC on sort of educational training to support Afghani evacuees and then capacity build within Afghani communities, one of the cool things that the CNNC has is this group called the Emoja Group. And that was founded years ago by Natasha Nikokeza, who's currently at the CNNC. And the Emoja Group is a group of 35 women from the DRC who come together to provide each other support, encouragement, mental health support, family support. And so the idea is potentially to also create similar groups. It's about building support from within the community and for the community. So that's something the CNNC is really good at. And so we're hoping to do that once Afghani evacuees are here and a little bit more settled. And yes, thank you for the links, Catherine.
Well, thank you so much. Those are great places to check out. And Catherine, thanks for those links. I'm definitely going to be researching and figuring out, yes, what can be done. Yeah. Any other questions y'all are wondering about? I wonder if bikes too, maybe Jane, or just helmets?
I actually don't know the details of it, but I know that Anna is our link to the group who is working, I think is probably what Dr. Abdul was mentioning about the group at UNCG is working with the community to support the arriving Afghan families. So she just mentioned that this is a need that the group identified and that they are announcing that through various connections. And they also asked us to try to announce that. So I'm just trying to take any opportunity where people are interested and want to learn about it to share those needs from the community.
Yes, okay, thanks.
Dia, can you tell me just a little bit about, I know some people serve as, I don't know the right terminology, CNNC fellows or are more in a partnership with CNNC. And although I've been involved for years, like I've been working with Edna Tan at Glen Haven for a number of years, I haven't followed up and figured out that information. Do you feel comfortable sharing that with us?
Oh, of course. And I'm sorry that I didn't mention it. It is one of our great programs, the CNNC Fellows. And it is a group of folks, professors, certainly UNCG faculty and staff, but also practitioners, activists, community members, advocates, students, service providers, partners who are invested in refugee and immigrant issues here in North Carolina. And we come together once a month. And the group of the fellows also is, can be part of various subcommittees. We have 5 subcommittees. And so each subcommittee has a particular goal that they focus on. So the policy and practice subcommittee has been working on this research rubric. The curricular, co-curricular subcommittee has been working on the forced migration minor. The research and evaluation subcommittee and the public there's another subcommittee. There's 5. I'm sorry, I'll remember them. They were working on the symposium. So every year the CNNC Fellows has a goal. So last year it was COVID. This year we have a different goal focusing on shifting agendas in response to various crises, forced migration, COVID also, but also Afghanistan. And so the CNNC Fellows is really just a group of folks who come together, think, talk, converse, share information, and then work on particular projects that benefit our communities. And so it's so easy to join. You just email me and then just show up to the meetings.
Thanks.
I was wondering, do you have any questions for us, about what we're doing at CDLC? And then I don't know if you have any ideas of things that you would like to see from us that could be supportive.
Yeah, I would love to hear just a quick update maybe about the things that you're engaged in. I do have to leave in a little bit to pick up my kids from school. Yeah, I would love to get an update from you. I think my invitation is to folks on this call that if you have ideas for collaboration and partnerships and things like that, to reach out to me and to others at the CNNC so that we can support the work that you all are doing.
Yeah, well, we really kind of operate under a shared governance model. So it's really just kind of a joint effort. There's not really like, a director or, anyone. So we're all just kind of, we're all faculty, staff, students who just kind of believe in this mission of the work that CDLC has been doing for a while. The main things that we were doing right now are the grant that I talked about at the beginning. So helping to fund research and service projects. We also have been doing these events every month where we have some kind of focus for presentations and workshops. And then we have a conference that we usually do typically in the spring semester. We're still working on finalizing our plans for this year's conference. Those are kind of the main reaches that we have right now, just with the capacity of our group. And like I said, it's very much a shared governance model. But really, again, the mission of supporting teaching, research, work, community engagement work that extends to, diverse language communities. So definitely the folks that you also work with.
That sounds wonderful. It looks like there's a great deal of potential. You all are already collaborating with the CNNC in many ways, but it's exciting to continue that partnership.
Well, we're excited. I'm excited about the World Symposium next week. I'll definitely be there. And thank you so much for joining us. This was great. And again, let's be in touch soon and continue working together.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dia.
Thank you. Bye.